I refused to help my brother with his debts. Now he thinks I'm the enemy. My name is Ethan, and this story is about how things between my brother and me fell apart. Growing up, my younger brother, Chris, and I were close. We fought like all siblings do, but I always believed we had each other's backs. Chris is 2 years younger than me, and has always struggled with money. Since high school, he's bounced between jobs, rarely holding down anything steady for long. I work as a graphic designer and managed to save some money over the years. Whenever Chris hit a rough patch, I tried to help, loaning him cash, giving advice, or sometimes covering rent when he was short. But the last year was different. Chris got mixed up with the wrong crowd and racked up debts far beyond what I could help with. He started borrowing from payday lenders, maxed out credit cards, and even claimed to owe money to some loan sharks, or at least that's what he told me in panic calls. One day, he called me, voice shaking, saying he was behind on rent and that the landlord was threatening eviction. I knew I couldn't keep giving him money without limits, so I told him I could help this time, but only if he got serious about fixing his finances. He promised he would, but the next week, he was already asking for more money, this time to pay off some shady debt. That was when I had to draw the line. I told Chris I couldn't keep bailing him out if he didn't take responsibility. I offered to help him find financial counseling or a debt management program, but I refused to give him any more money. He didn't take it well. At first, he was angry, yelling, accusing me of not being a good brother. But over time, his anger turned cold. He started avoiding me, stopped answering calls, and when we met, it felt like I was a stranger. Last weekend, I ran into him at a local bar. He was with some of those friends I didn't trust. He barely acknowledged me and walked away when I tried to talk. Now, family members are caught in the middle. Some side with Chris, saying I'm heartless. Others understand my position but want peace. I keep wondering, did I do the right thing? Am I really the villain here? Or was I just tired of enabling self-destructive behavior? After that night at the bar, things between Chris and me got even colder. The texts stopped coming. The calls went unanswered. And every time I saw him around town, he either ignored me or gave me a glare that could freeze fire. I wasn't sure when exactly we stopped being brothers and started being strangers, but it felt like the moment I refused to send him money. I could have looked the other way, given him just a little more to keep the peace, but something inside me snapped. I was exhausted emotionally, financially, mentally. I'd spent years helping him, only to watch him spiral further and further out of control. My parents got involved soon after. Mom called me one evening, voice strained. Ethan, you have to understand how hard this is for Chris. He's going through a lot. Can't you just help him one more time? I sighed. Mom, I want to help, but I can't just give him money to cover bad decisions. It's not going to fix anything. I'm trying to help him in other ways. Dad wasn't as sympathetic, he said. You're making him feel like he has no one, Ethan. Maybe that's why he's shutting down. Their words haunted me, but I still felt like I was doing the right thing. Helping Chris had become a cycle of enabling that was destroying both of us. One weekend, I decided to reach out again. I sent a message saying I was willing to meet, talk things through, maybe even help him find a plan to get out of debt. No reply. I went to his apartment, announced one evening. No answer. Neighbors told me he'd been gone for a few days, probably staying with one of those friends I didn't trust. I realized then that this wasn't just about money anymore. It was about trust, respect, and boundaries that had been broken too many times. Meanwhile, family gatherings became battlegrounds. And Karen took Chris's side, accusing me of abandoning him when he needed family the most. Uncle Mike told me I was right to stand my ground, but urged me to be patient. Even Laura, my girlfriend, noticed the tension. You're torn between wanting to help your brother and protecting yourself, she said. But you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Her words stung, but felt true. Then came the moment that broke the silence. One Sunday afternoon, I got a call from Chris's friend, Mark. His voice was low and nervous. Ethan, Chris. He's in trouble. Big trouble. He's asking for help. I felt a mixture of dread and relief. Dread, because I didn't know what big trouble meant. Relief because maybe, finally, Chris was ready to face his problems. I told Mark to tell Chris to call me. Hours later, I got a text from Chris. Can we talk? I messed up. I didn't hesitate. I replied, I'm here. That night, we met at a quiet diner. Chris looked worn down, eyes tired and defeated. "I don't know how I got here," he said quietly. "I thought I could handle it. I thought I had it under control, but I was wrong. I'm sorry for pushing you away. I'm sorry for everything." For the first time in months, I felt something thaw inside me. "I want to fix this," he continued, "but I need help. Can you still help me?" I looked at him and saw not just my reckless little brother, but someone broken and scared. "I'll help," I said, "but this time, we do it right. No more handouts. We get a plan, and we stick to it." Chris nodded. It wasn't a fairy tale fix. It was just the start of a long road. But it was a start. The days after that diner meeting felt like walking a tightrope. Chris and I both knew this was a turning point. But the weight of all the mistakes, broken trust and resentment, still hung heavy between us. We started small. I helped him research legitimate debt counseling services and financial advisors. It wasn't easy. Chris was defensive at first, skeptical about whether anyone could actually help him get out of the mess he'd created. But slowly, the walls came down. One night after a long session with a debt counselor, Chris called me. His voice was shaky but hopeful. "Ethan, I think this could actually work. I don't want to be that guy anymore, the one who borrows and runs, who hides from his problems." I felt a surge of pride but also caution. "It's going to take time, man. You have to stay committed." We agreed on a budget, a payment plan, and ways to avoid falling back into old habits. I even helped him draft a resume and applied for a part-time job to boost his income. But the hardest part wasn't the money, it was rebuilding trust. Family gatherings were tense. Chris avoided eye contact with some relatives, and I caught whispers about who was the problem in the family. I tried to shield him from it, but there was only so much I could do. Laura, my girlfriend, was a rock during this time. She didn't sugarcoat things but always encouraged me to be patient and reminded me that Chris's issues weren't my fault. One afternoon as we sat in my apartment, she said, "You're doing more than most people would. Just remember to take care of yourself too." Her words hit home. I realized I'd been so focused on fixing Chris that I'd neglected my own well-being. Stress, sleepless nights, and constant worry had taken a toll. To balance things out, I started setting boundaries. I made it clear to Chris that I would support him but wouldn't sacrifice my own life. I stopped answering calls at midnight or rushing to solve every crisis. Sometimes he was angry about this. Other times he understood. Slowly, Chris started making real progress. He paid off a few smaller debts and kept up with rent. His new job wasn't glamorous, but it gave him a sense of purpose. One evening, he called me from work, exhausted but smiling. "Ethan, I just paid off my first credit card. Feels weirdly good." I smiled back, feeling a mix of relief and hope. "That's huge. Keep it up." But not everything was smooth. Old habits die hard, and temptation was always lurking. One weekend, Chris skipped a payment to buy drinks with those old friends. When I found out, I was furious. We had a serious talk. "You're throwing everything away," I told him. He looked ashamed. "I know. I just wanted one night to forget everything." I took a deep breath. One night can't undo months of work, but it can start a chain reaction. You have to choose who you want to be. That conversation was tough but necessary. Chris promised to stay on track, and I believed him. The months following that difficult conversation were a test for both of us. Chris was learning to live within his means, and I was learning how to support without enabling. It wasn't perfect. There were setbacks, moments of frustration, and days when I wondered if all this effort was worth it. One Saturday afternoon, I got a call from Mom. She sounded hopeful. "Ethan, Chris asked if he could come over. He wants to talk, really talk." I wasn't sure what to expect but agreed. That evening, Chris showed up at my door, looking nervous but determined. We sat down in the living room, and for the first time in a long time, we talked openly about everything. His mistakes, my frustrations, the pain we both felt. "I hated feeling like a failure," he admitted. "I pushed everyone away because I thought it was easier to be alone, but it only made things worse." I nodded. "I was tired of watching you hurt yourself and not knowing how to help. I know I wasn't perfect, but I wanted to see you get better." We agreed to rebuild our relationship slowly, with honesty and respect. It wasn't just about money anymore, it was about trust and family. The next few weeks we started spending more time together, grabbing coffee, going for walks, even catching a game. It felt good, like before the debts and fights took over. At one point, Chris surprised me. He'd been saving up from his job and handed me an envelope. "I want to pay you back for everything you've done," he said. Inside were several $100s, not the full amount, but a start. I was proud but also cautious. "It's not about the money, it's about you taking responsibility." He smiled, and I saw a glimpse of the brother I remembered. But not everyone was convinced. Some family members still whispered about the drama and wondered if Chris would slip again. I decided to focus on what mattered: our progress. One night, over dinner, Chris said something that stuck with me. "Thanks for not giving up on me, even when I didn't deserve it." I looked him in the eye. "We're brothers. That's what family does." It's been almost a year since that night at the diner when Chris first admitted he needed help. A lot has changed since then. Some days are still hard, but the overall direction is forward. Chris managed to pay off most of his debts, rebuilt his credit score, and even landed a full-time job at a small tech company. It's not flashy, but it's steady, and he's proud of that. I see a confidence in him now that wasn't there before, a quiet strength born from facing his problems head-on. Our relationship has healed too. We don't pretend the past didn't happen, but we've learned to communicate better and respect each other's boundaries. We're brothers again, not perfect, but real. Family gatherings feel less tense. Mom and Dad seem relieved, and even Aunt Karen has softened. Sometimes I catch Chris and me sharing a look that says without words, "We made it through." I've learned a lot from this experience. Helping someone doesn't mean fixing everything for them. Sometimes it means stepping back and letting them struggle enough to grow. Setting boundaries is not selfish, it's necessary for both of us. Most importantly, I realize that love isn't just about being there during the good times. It's about standing firm during the hardest ones, even when it means making tough choices. If you're reading this and struggling with someone you love, know that it's okay to say no sometimes. It's okay to protect yourself while still caring. And sometimes, the hardest road leads to the strongest bonds. Thanks for listening to my story. If you like this video, please subscribe for more.